Hey, welcome back everybody to another devlog. And so there's been a lot of changes with Ranger recently, and I kind of want to get you guys up to speed. So first of all, there was a bug with the ledge hang, where if you hit a ledge at the wrong height and distance, you could actually get stuck on it, and you wouldn't be able to ledge climb, ledge jump, or even drop from the ledge. So you would actually have to exit play mode. So it was a really critical error. I thought that now was a perfect time to start working on some bigger environment assets. So I actually started working on the moon. And the reason for that is because the moon is a huge part of the story and the lore of the game. So it actually sets the tone for the game and really brings some ambience to it. So I was really excited about that, and I think it looks great. I also started thinking about what I wanted the starting area of the game to look like, that tutorial area. So I scoured Pinterest for a while, trying to look for something that would kind of inspire me. And I think I found what I'm looking for. So I started concepting this lighthouse. And I was thinking this lighthouse really has two main takeaways. First of all is the definite boundary of land, right? The water comes up, that's kind of the end. And I think this area really gives a sense of melancholy, but still hopeful. And that's exactly the tone that this game has. That's actually the tone for the entire game. And so I think that this first initial area, if it can set that tone, that's gonna be huge. The scale of this lighthouse actually gave me another idea. What if the camera could smoothly zoom in and out? This way the camera could zoom in for tense combat sequences, but zoom out for landscapes, landmarks, buildings, panoramas, or if we're just adventuring and we wanna see the landscape. And so that idea actually brings us to today. Quick little sidebar. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Just click the button. It's super easy. It's free. You can change your mind later. But don't change your mind. Just stay subscribed. All right, thanks. So if we take a look at the current camera system that we're using right now, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We're just using Cinemachine to have a smoother, easier camera system. But it's not good enough because it can't do certain things that we're going to talk about. We can't zoom in and out, that's first of all. But on top of that, because we're using this pixel perfect camera package from Unity's URP renderer, the camera is very choppy because it can only move a minimum of 1 pixel. We need to fix that because at the same time, we need the pixel perfect camera component to make sure that everything is aligned to the grid and that we can actually get that pixelated effect that will help us with particles, effects, and even 3D objects if we need to in the future. So I spent hours, literal days on this project trying to modify this pixel perfect package, and it was a nightmare. So when that didn't work, I tried making my own. When that didn't work, I tried again modifying the package, and none of it worked. And even though I got really close, I got super close to actually getting it to work the way it was supposed to work, and there were no errors. It was supposed to do what it was supposed to do, but for some reason, and I still don't know why, the camera would just not pixelate. And I'm still not sure why it wasn't working. Everything seemed fine, there were no errors, and everything seemed to be communicating. So I'm not exactly sure what happened there. So I scrapped the idea because in the long run, it wouldn't have really changed anything. I would have been able to zoom in and out smoothly, but movement would have still been an issue. It would have still been super choppy. So I spent a day, I thought about it for a while, and I decided that what we need is a hybrid camera system. And I call it the smooth pixel camera. So it works like this. There's a stationary camera in the scene, and the pixel perfect camera component can see the entire game. We'll talk more about that in a second. But the main camera sends its data to a render texture. The render texture is on a plane in the scene. Now there's a Cinemachine camera rig viewing the plane, and it can only see the plane. And this Cinemachine rig tracks the player by way of a position probe. And so changing the size of this camera actually allows us to zoom in and out smoothly. And since the camera is not being pixelated, it's buttery smooth. So there are two main things that we need to remember for the future, and things that we're gonna kind of have to solve. So the first thing is dynamic probes, and the second is dynamic occlusion culling. Probes are just game objects that I made that track the position of the player on top of the plane that has the render texture, so that if the plane in the render texture shows my character on this side of the plane, the game object will also be in physical space on that plane. And that way we can actually use Cinemachine to track that probe, and it makes it possible to track the player. But let's say that we're in a game and we're walking along, our camera is tracking our player, and we come across a vista point. Now, if at that vista point we want our camera to zoom out and show the vista point, then we actually need to transfer some data. The camera needs to know that we've hit that specific area. And the only way to do that would be to use probes. So the probe would be for that vista point. Now, if every enemy, animal, building, NPC, even tile had to be constantly tracked with position and the probe constantly moving to that position, then that's going to slow down the game immensely. You might not even be able to play the game because of how many objects there would be, all processing at the same time. So it would be a headache. So we need to come up with a way of dynamically creating, processing, even deleting these probes so that the game stays streamlined. Now for occlusion culling. Occlusion culling pretty much means anything that is outside the viewport of the camera will not be rendered. And that's great. Cameras do that automatically on Unity. The problem is that the main camera is actually over the entire game, which means that there is no occlusion culling. What we need to do is kind of a reverse probe, where the camera location that is moving communicates with the physical scene so that we can actually select what areas we want visible and rendered and what areas we don't want rendered. So I'm not 100% sure on how I'm going to tackle these two issues. If you have any ideas, tell me in the comments or join the Discord. I really would appreciate some help on this one. I'm super happy with all of the progress I was able to do, and I think that this smooth pixel camera is really going in the right direction. Anyways, you guys know what to do on YouTube. You don't need me telling you what to do. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Devlog 10, super duper exciting. And oh, by the way, this video right here, I think you guys are going to enjoy it. It's where I actually share some things that I learned from participating in 2 game jams back to back. The GMTK jam and the Mech Jam 3. So I think you guys are going to enjoy that. Just click on it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.